Hey everyone, so today we're going to continue talking about the Chad Daybell preliminary hearing, and I'm just going through different segments, different testimony, and kind of breaking those down. Now today I'm going to be talking specifically about the FBI agent, Steve Daniels. There's a few things about his testimony that I want to touch on. A real big key point was him breaking down, the areas that they searched, how they went about that, obviously what they discovered. Now he talks about, the areas of interest in the search, how they got the intel for that, which was like through satellite images, the text messages, pings on the cell phone. I mean, if we remember back, all of this evidence literally was breadcrumbs right to the scene of these burial sites. Now, Agent Daniels goes into the story about look, this is how we did the excavation, and this is how we do it in order to find out the story that site, the burial site, tells us. Now, for me, this was really, really hard testimony to listen to for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the nature of it. I mean, this is where we're hearing the discovery. I mean, remember, we were all like, where are the kids? Where are the kids? And so here's, the answer. So there's the shock of, basically being like, okay, everybody was right, and then there's the shock of, oh my God, this is now a reality. There's a final answer to this, if you will. Now, also, there's absurd and crazy aspects to this case. If you follow me on this, I highlight those, but also hearing about this was very sobering in that context, because it always all comes back to this, is what they did to poor little JJ and Tylee. Also, we're able to see the Woodcocks behind Chad Daybell. They're visibly upset, and this is completely understandable. I think the whole dynamic of these camera angles is just amazing, and the way that we see them there, and how patient they are, and you can tell they're angry. I don't know how they were sitting there with Daybell hours away from them. I can't imagine how that would make me feel. Now, a lot of the really, really interesting tidbits that came out was when Pryor did the redirect. Now, you can tell by Pryor's line of questioning where he's going to be trying to tear this case apart. So the first thing he's asking is, hey, look, who was in charge of the whole scene here? Was somebody designated to keep an eye on the family members while this is going on? Another big part of the testimony that he brings out is about the pet cemetery. And, he's talking to Agent Daniels about this, and basically Agent Daniels, of course, is like, this is what we designated as the pet cemetery. And Pryor's like, well, would you be surprised to learn that it's actually 20 by 20 and not 10 by 10? Now, of course, Pryor is going to make these little differences and exaggerate them and whatnot, because that's his job. That's his job to prove that someone's not credible. That's his job to prove that someone, isn't keeping track of things, or that misinformation's being told, and so on and so forth. Now, Agent Daniels is very patient with this, and he's trying to explain, look, I made an assessment based on something visual, and then from there we, did A, B, and C, and this is how we decided where to dig. Now, Pryor picks this apart by being like, well, look, you didn't dig up all the property. You didn't dig up every single thing that looked like it could be, disturbed or whatnot. And again, Daniels just keeps coming back to, no, we did an observation, we did this, we did an assessment, we went to the places that looked like they were most obviously grave sites. And I'm sitting over here like, you better be thankful for your damn client that they didn't dig up all the property. God knows what else or who else they would find. And then the big whammy of the whole situation comes out. It all wraps back around. I was like, that's where he was going with this. So then he's basically like, so you couldn't tell me if there was a raccoon buried on that property. And I was like, oh my God, the damn raccoon is coming back to haunt us. And of course, Daniels has to, agree, yeah, it is fair to say a raccoon could be buried, and we don't know that. Now, he did talk about the bones of the dog and the cat that he found. And again, you can kind of tell where Pryor's getting into that, oh, that was your observation, from what you know a dog and a cat to look like. So remember why the raccoon is relevant. Chad Daybell sent Tammy that text messages basically covering up his trail of the gunfire, the fire that they had, all that stuff, and he was blaming it on a raccoon. So of course now Pryor's gonna be like, well, you can't tell me that a raccoon's not buried out there. And I'm just like, oh my God, are you serious? They better watch out. They might find their whole piece of damn property completely unearthed to find a raccoon, or most likely not find a raccoon. Now, at one point, Mr. Pryor is asking, the agent, well, what's your definition of like a clandestine grave? And he goes into it. And then Pryor gets all upset and he's like, I want to object. He is trying to slide information in and he's over answering the question. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, y'all, this trial is going to last forever. And the judge is like, well, I just listened to this and I think we all heard this and we can safely say that you asked a question and he was answering it. Now, another thing that comes up is Pryor's bringing up, he's like, okay, you said you touched the garbage bag, the burial garbage bag, I'm assuming you had gloves on for this. So again, he's just getting all this out there. He is going to go bit by bit and go up one side and down the next with things. So he's going to leave no stone left unturned. It is what it is. I know we don't like Chad Daybell, and we're just going to have to put up with that during the trial, that he is going to really just pick every little thing apart. But I also think what we're going to find is that the more he unturns stuff, you can't get away from the fact that they found these children on Chad Daybell's property. Now, if you want to watch some of my other commentary on this case, just click these videos over here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you soon.